The silver disk appeared on a quiet Tuesday morning. Captain James Walker was doing his regular maintenance check on the International Space Station's solar panels when he spotted it. At first, he thought it was space debris, but debris didn't move like that. The object stopped, started, and changed direction with impossible smoothness. "Houston, are you seeing this?" he asked, his voice steady despite his racing heart. There was only static in response. All communications had gone dead. The disk grew larger, its surface shimmering like liquid mercury. Walker grabbed his camera and started recording. Someone needed to document this moment. Humanity's first contact with an alien race. The ship, if that's what it was, had to be at least a kilometer wide. A blue light swept over the station, making the instruments go crazy. Walker floated in place, watching as screens filled with strange symbols. Then, in perfect English, a voice spoke through the station's speakers. "Primitive vessel detected. Life forms present. Initiating standard protocol for underdeveloped species." 3 smaller ships emerged from the disk. They looked like teardrops made of starlight. Walker felt a strange tingling sensation, and suddenly he was no longer on the station. He found himself in a room with walls that seemed to be made of flowing light. A tall figure stood before him. It looked almost human, except its skin had a metallic sheen, and its eyes were completely silver. "I am Observer First Class from the Dominion," it said. "Your species has been classified as Category 7. Primitive but potentially useful." Walker straightened his back. "I'm Captain James Walker of Earth. We've been waiting a long time to meet others among the stars." The observer made a sound that might have been a laugh. "Waiting? You haven't even mastered basic spatial folding. Your fastest chips would take years to reach your nearest stellar neighbor. We found you by accident while mapping this sector for potential resource extraction." More aliens entered the room. They walked around Walker, scanning him with devices that hummed and pulsed. They spoke among themselves in musical tones, not bothering to hide their amusement. "Look," one said in English, "they still use biological neural networks. No quantum consciousness enhancement at all. And their space habitat," another added, "it actually uses solar panels for power." How quaint. Walker felt his face grow hot, but he kept his voice calm. "We may not have your technology, but we've accomplished a lot. We've split the atom, mapped our genome, created artificial intelligence." Yes, the observer cut him off. "All very impressive for primitives. Now, please be quiet while we complete our assessment." Over the next few hours, Walker watched as the aliens accessed Earth's internet, downloaded our entire history, and discussed humanity's fate as if he wasn't even there. They seemed especially amused by our weapons, our wars, and our primitive attempts at space exploration. "The decision is made," the observer finally announced. "Your world will be granted protected status under the Dominion. We will establish a quarantine zone around your solar system. This is for your own protection, of course. Your species is clearly not ready for interaction with the greater galaxy." "Don't we get a say in this?" Walker asked. The observer's silver eyes flickered. "Would you ask a child's permission before preventing them from playing with dangerous tools? We are being generous. Many voices in the Dominion Council simply harvesting your world's resources. I convinced them your species might be useful someday, with proper guidance." Walker was returned to the space station just as suddenly as he'd left it. Communications with Earth resumed immediately. As he reported what had happened, he noticed something odd about the alien ship. Their technology was incredible, yes, but it all seemed to follow the same patterns. There was no variation, no signs of trial and error, no evidence of different approaches being tried. He thought about humanity's messy, chaotic path to the stars. Our competing space programs, our different approaches, our failures and successes. Maybe, just maybe, there was strength in that chaos they couldn't see. The alien ships vanished as quickly as they'd appeared, leaving humanity to digest the news that we were now a protected species. But as Walker looked down at Earth, blue and beautiful below him, He couldn't shake the feeling that the Dominion had missed something important about humans. We don't like being told what we can't do. 3 months after first contact, Maria Torres sat in her underground office at Military Intelligence, staring at patterns that shouldn't exist. The Dominion ships appeared over Earth twice a week, always claiming they were just checking on their protected species. But Maria had noticed something odd. Each visit brought more ships than the last. She pulled up the radar data from worldwide tracking stations. The aliens thought humanity's technology was too primitive to notice, but old-fashioned radar could still see their ships. Their flight patterns were strange. Instead of coming from random directions as proper patrol ships would, they always came from the same region of space, and they always seemed to be looking behind them. "They're running from something," she muttered, adding another pin to the giant map on her wall. Red strings connected the pins, showing the Dominion's gradual movement across space. They were moving toward Earth, not away from it. A knock on her door made her jump. "Come in," she called, quickly covering her map with a sheet. Tom Reed from the Science Division walked in, carrying a thick folder. "You need to see this," he said, spreading papers across her desk. "Remember those energy readings we couldn't explain? The ones that showed up after each Dominion visit? Well, we cracked their code. It's not a patrol report. They're scanning Earth for something specific." Maria leaned forward, pushing her coffee cup aside. The papers showed energy patterns, each one stronger than the last. "What are they looking for?" "Not what. Where?" Tom pointed to a map covered in circles. "They're looking for underground spaces, deep ones, places to hide." The pieces started falling into place in Maria's mind. The increasing number of ships, the focused direction of their arrival, the scans for underground spaces. "They told us they were protecting us," she said slowly. "But what if they're actually looking for a fortress?" Tom nodded grimly. "There's more. Our deep space telescopes picked up something last night. Look at this." He pulled out a grainy photo that showed a distant part of space. Tiny points of light were moving in formation, thousands of them. "What am I looking at?" Maria asked, though she already had a horrible feeling she knew. "The reason the Dominion is really here, whatever that is, it's destroying everything in its path. And it's heading this way." Maria spent the next week gathering evidence. She hacked into secured channels, pieced together intercepted alien communications, and studied every scrap of data about the Dominion's visits. The picture it painted was terrifying. The Dominion, for all their advanced technology, was losing a war. Their outer colonies had gone dark one by one. Their mighty fleets were being torn apart by something they called the Swarm, and now they were eyeing Earth not as a primitive world to protect, but as a last line of defense. In a secret meeting with military leaders, Maria laid out her findings. "They're not protecting us," she explained, pointing to her data. "They're preparing to use Earth as a battleground. All that talk about quarantine. They're making sure we can't leave before they need us." "Need us?" General Harris scoffed. "They think we're primitives. What could they need from us?" Maria clicked to her next slide. "Cannon fodder. They've lost too many of their own people. They need someone else to fight for them. And we're it." The room erupted in angry mutters. The general raised his hand for silence. "What do you recommend, Horace?" "We prepare, but not the way they expect." She pulled out a blueprint. "They think we're primitive. Let's use that. While they're busy looking down on us, we'll be getting ready. They've never fought a war the way humans fight. Maybe that's exactly what we need." As Maria spoke, more images of the approaching swarm arrived. The enemy was still months away, but they were coming. The Dominion ships increased their visits. Their scans became more desperate, but they still treated humans like children. That was their mistake, because while they were busy being superior, humanity was doing what it did best, preparing for war in ways no one expected. Maria's team worked through the nights, combining Earth's primitive technology with what they learned from studying the Dominion ships. The aliens thought Earth was their fortress. They were wrong. It was going to be their lesson in why you should never underestimate humans. Deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, Colonel Thomas Reed watched as his team tested their newest weapon. They called it the Stone Age Special, a simple railgun built with parts from a junked tank and powered by stolen alien technology. The Dominion would have laughed at its crude design. That was exactly the point. "Fire when ready," Reed ordered. The weapon hummed to life, its barrel glowing with a mix of human engineering and alien power. The test target was a piece of Dominion hull material, borrowed from one of their scout ships. Everyone expected the primitive human weapon to barely scratch it. The railgun fired. The projectile, a simple tungsten rod, hit the alien metal at incredible speed. The hull piece didn't just dent, it shattered completely. Reed smiled as his team cheered. "Send the data to Maria," he said. She was right. Their shields are tuned for energy weapons. They never thought anyone would be stupid enough to still use physical projectiles. Across the world, other teams were making similar discoveries. The Dominion's technology was incredibly advanced, but it was also predictable. They had followed the same development path for so long that they'd forgotten other ways were possible. In Australia, engineers found that regular radio waves could pass right through the Dominion's quantum communication networks. In South Africa, scientists discovered that simple copper wiring could disrupt their sensor systems. Every primitive human technology was becoming a potential weapon. "They're so advanced they've forgotten the basics," Reed explained during a global briefing. "It's like they're playing a video game, where they only use the highest level gear. But sometimes a rock is all you need." Word came that the swarm had destroyed another Dominion colony. The aliens increased their visits to Earth, but they still didn't notice what was happening under their noses. Humanity had gotten very good at looking harmless while preparing for war. In an abandoned subway tunnel under New York, Reed met with other project leaders. Maria Torres had set up a command center where they could work without the Dominion's knowledge. Old subway lines, it turned out, were perfect for hiding from alien sensors. "The swarm is consuming their outer worlds," Maria reported, pointing to a star map. "But we found something interesting. Look at their attack pattern." The map showed the swarm avoiding certain areas, places where older civilizations still used primitive technology. "They're both vulnerable to the same thing," Reed realized. "They've evolved so far past basic physics that they've left themselves open to simple attacks." A young engineer named Bill stepped forward. "We've modified our nuclear missiles," he said, "added some alien tech to the guidance systems, but kept the basic explosive design. The Dominion shields can't stop them. They're expecting antimatter weapons, not good old-fashioned nukes." Reed nodded. Each day brought new discoveries, new ways to combine human primitive technology with alien advanced tech. They built hybrid weapons that neither the Dominion nor the swarm would expect. Old military equipment was pulled out of storage and given new life. "They think we're cave people playing with fire," Reed told his team as they prepared another test. "But fire was humanity's first great weapon, and we've never stopped improving it." The day's tests continued. Simple bullets coated with alien metals that could pierce any shield. Old radar systems modified to track quantum ships. Earth's primitive weapons were becoming something entirely new, not because they were advanced, but because they were different. As Reed watched another successful test, alerts came in. The swarm had broken through the Dominion's outer defenses. They would reach the solar system within weeks. The aliens still hadn't told humanity about the danger, still thought they were protecting their primitive charges. "Let them keep thinking that," Reed said, watching as another hybrid weapon proved successful. "The best trap is the one your enemy doesn't know exists." In orbit, the Dominion ships continued their patrols, never noticing that the primitives below them had turned their own technology against them. Humanity was ready for war, and they were going to fight it their way, with everything from sticks and stones to stolen starship parts. The galaxy had laughed at humanity's primitive weapons. Soon, they would learn what primitive really meant. They came from the dark space beyond Pluto, a swarm of ships that looked like angry black wasps. The Dominion's defense fleet met them head-on, their silver ships forming a wall of light. Earth watched through telescopes as the battle began, but something was wrong. The Dominion's ships were breaking formation, retreating. "They're running," Maria Torres said, watching the tactical display in the underground command center. "They're actually running away." The Dominion fleet scattered like leaves in a storm. Their mighty weapons, capable of harnessing the power of stars, did nothing against the swarm's advanced shields. One by one, their ships winked out of existence. A transmission came through on all frequencies. The observer, his silver eyes now dim with fear, appeared on screens worldwide. We were wrong about you," he said. "Perhaps primitives have their uses. Fight well, humans. Die well." Then the transmission cut off as the last Dominion ships vanished into space, leaving Earth alone. Colonel Reed stood in the command center, his face lit by emergency screens. "They think we're going to die here," he said. "Time to show them what primitives can do." Launch Operation Stone Age. Around the Earth, hidden silos opened. But these weren't just any missiles. Each one carried a warhead built from Earth's oldest weapons combined with stolen alien tech. They called them caveman specials, nuclear weapons wrapped in quantum-enhanced casings, guided by both computers and simple radio waves. The swarm didn't even try to dodge. Why should they? Their shields could stop any energy weapon in the galaxy. But they hadn't counted on humans using actual explosives, real, physical warheads that their energy shields couldn't properly detect. The first missile hit, a flash of light brighter than the sun. When it cleared, a hole had been torn in the swarm's formation. They tried to regroup, but more missiles were already on the way. "They can't track our old radar signals," Maria reported, watching as the swarm's ships moved in confusion. "They're fighting blind." The battle spread across the solar system. The swarm launched energy weapons that could crack planets, but Earth's forces had spread out, using asteroids and old space junk as cover. Humanity's ships weren't elegant. They were retired cargo vessels and hastily converted oil tankers trapped with hybrid weapons. But they worked. A swarm battleship, bigger than Manhattan, cornered 3 human ships near Mars. It fired a weapon that could vaporize a moon. The humans responded with modified shotgun shells the size of buses, filled with simple metal pellets coated in quantum-enhanced materials. The battleship's shields, designed to stop energy weapons, might as well have been tissue paper. "We're pushing them back," someone shouted as another wave of swarm ships exploded. Their advanced technology was failing against humanity's mix of old and new. Every piece of space junk became a weapon. Old satellites were turned into mines. Even actual rocks, coated with alien metals, became deadly weapons when launched at near-light speed. The swarm tried to adapt, but they couldn't understand the chaos of human warfare. Their tactics were perfect, practiced over thousands of years. But humans didn't fight perfectly. They fought dirty, used tricks, broke rules that the swarm didn't even know could be broken. After 6 hours of battle, the space around Earth was filled with the broken remains of swarm ships. Their formation had been shattered, their perfect tactics useless against human unpredictability. For the first time in their history, the swarm was retreating. Colonel Reed watched them go, his primitive radar tracking their flight. "Send a message to the Dominion," he ordered. "Tell them Earth is defended, and tell them they might want to rethink what primitive means." The command center erupted in cheers as the last swarm ship disappeared. Humanity had done the impossible. They'd won their first interstellar battle using weapons that the galaxy had laughed at. Above Earth, the wreckage of the most advanced ships ever built floated alongside simple metal slugs and broken rocks. It was a perfect picture of the day's lesson. Sometimes the old ways were the best ways. And humanity had just taught that lesson to the entire galaxy. Dr. Kate Anderson hadn't slept in 3 days. Her lab, buried deep in an old nuclear bunker, was filled with pieces of a crashed swarm ship. Most scientists would have studied the advanced technology first, but Kate was more interested in the simple things, like why the ship's systems had failed when hit by a regular EMP blast. "Look at this," she told her team, pointing to a piece of alien metal under a microscope. "Their whole ship is made of quantum-sensitive materials. Every single part of it, even the hull." The team gathered around as she ran a simple test. She took an old microwave, modified with some scavenged alien tech, and turned it on near a piece of swarm equipment. The advanced alien device immediately went dark. "That's why our primitive weapons worked so well," Kate said, her tired eyes bright with excitement. "They built everything on quantum systems, but quantum states are fragile. Our old-fashioned electronic warfare, it's like throwing rocks into their quantum pond." Word of Kate's discovery spread quickly. In the command center, Maria Torres and Colonel Reed watched as Kate explained her findings to military leaders from around the world. "The swarm isn't just advanced," Kate said, showing slides of her research. "They've completely abandoned traditional electronics. Everything they have, from their weapons to their life support, runs on quantum systems. It's incredibly powerful, but it has a weakness. Our simple electromagnetic weapons disrupt their quantum fields. We don't even need to destroy their ships, we just need to confuse them." The military leaders leaned forward as Kate showed them test results. Basic radio waves could scramble swarm communications. Old radar systems could blind their sensors. Even Wi-Fi signals could interfere with their quantum computers. "They're so advanced," one general said, "that they've forgotten how to deal with basics." Teams worldwide began modifying Earth's electronic warfare systems. They turned old radio towers into weapons. Military jammers became shields against quantum attacks. The very technology the swarm had laughed at was becoming their worst nightmare. In orbit, the International Space Station became a testing ground. Kate watched through cameras as astronauts tested her theories. They pointed simple radio antennas at captured swarm devices. The alien technology, worth more than entire planets, was stocked by equipment that any college student could build. "The Dominion must have known about this weakness," Kate told Maria during a break. "That's why they were losing. Their weapons were just as quantum-based as the swarms, but they were too proud to try anything else." Reports came in from across the solar system. The swarm was regrouping, but they were avoiding areas with high electromagnetic activity. Earth's primitive electronic noise had become a shield. Kate's team worked around the clock, finding new ways to use this weakness. They built devices that could create targeted electromagnetic pulses. They modified old military jammers to emit frequencies that quantum systems couldn't handle. Each discovery made humanity stronger. "We're not just defending anymore," Kate explained during a global briefing. "We can actually hurt them. Their quantum technology is perfect, and that's the problem. It can't handle imperfection. And humans, we're masters of imperfection." The Dominion ships that had abandoned Earth began to return, one by one. They were shocked to find humans not just alive, but winning. Their representatives watched in disbelief as Kate demonstrated how a simple ham radio could disrupt their most advanced systems. "We need your help," the observer admitted, his silver eyes dim with humility. "You understand their weakness in ways we cannot. Our technology is too advanced to fight them effectively." Kate looked at the alien technology in her lab, then at the old radio equipment that could shut it down. Sometimes the simplest solutions were the best ones. Sometimes being primitive meant being practical. "We'll help," she said. "But first, you need to learn something about being primitive. Sometimes you have to go backwards to move forward." As she spoke, more teams around the world were building weapons that combined Earth's old technology with new discoveries. The swarm thought they were invincible. They were about to learn that quantum computers weren't everything. Sometimes all you needed was an old radio and the knowledge of how to use it. Admiral Robert Mills stood on the bridge of the Star Punch, humanity's first real warship. 6 months ago, it had been a cargo vessel carrying grain across the Pacific. Now it was armed with a mix of human ingenuity and alien tech. The ship looked ugly. Its hull was covered in radio antennas, radar dishes, and what looked like giant microwave emitters. The Dominion engineers had called it an abomination. Mills called it perfect. Fleet status, he asked, watching as more ships joined formation around Earth. Each one was a converted civilian vessel, modified with the same hybrid technology that had driven back the swarm. 20 cargo ships converted and ready, his executive officer reported. 10 oil tankers armed with the new quantum disruptors. 5 cruise ships rebuilt as carriers, plus about 50 smaller vessels. Not exactly a traditional battle fleet, sir. Mills smiled. Traditional is what got the Dominion into trouble. Launched the fleet. The strangest armada in human history moved out from Earth orbit. They looked like a junkyard had learned to fly. Old ships patched with alien metal, solar panels next to quantum engines, satellite dishes mounted on laser cannons. But appearances were deceiving. Their first target was a swarm outpost near Alpha Centauri. The Dominion said it was impossible to reach with such primitive ships, but they hadn't counted on human determination. The fleet used a mix of alien jump drives and good old-fashioned acceleration to cross the gap between stars. The swarm detected them coming. They prepared their perfect defenses, their quantum shields, their advanced weapons. They weren't worried about these primitive vessels. That was their last mistake. All ships activate electronic warfare systems, Mills ordered. Immediately, the space around the fleet filled with every type of electromagnetic noise humans had ever created. Radio waves, radar pulses, microwave bursts, and countless other signals created a storm of energy that quantum systems couldn't handle. The swarm's perfect defenses began to fail. Their quantum communications went dark. Their precise targeting systems went blind. They had no backup systems, no analog alternatives, no way to fight through the noise. Launch the hybrid missiles, Mills commanded. The fleet released their weapons, simple rockets guided by both computers and human pilots, warheads combining nuclear bombs with quantum technology. The swarm's remaining defenses, designed to stop energy weapons, were useless against physical explosions. The battle was over in hours. The swarm retreated, leaving their outpost undefended. But humanity wasn't finished. Mills ordered the fleet to push forward, deeper into space that the swarm had claimed. Word spread across the galaxy. The primitive humans weren't just defending their home. They were taking the fight to the enemy. The Dominion, swallowing their pride, sent representatives to Earth. "We need your help," they admitted. "Our fleets are being destroyed. We have the most advanced ships in the galaxy, but they're useless against the swarm. Your methods seem to work better." Mills met with them in orbit, showing them how humans had modified their ships. The Dominion engineers were shocked to see advanced quantum technology working alongside simple radio equipment. It went against everything they believed about technological progress. The problem with perfect technology, Mills explained, is that it only works perfectly. But war isn't perfect. War is messy. And humans, we're good at messy. The Dominion began retrofitting their ships based on human designs. It hurt their pride to add primitive Earth technology to their advanced vessels, but they couldn't argue with the results. Across the galaxy, other species started doing the same. Mills watched from his ugly but effective bridge as more ships joined his fleet. Some were human vessels, others were Dominion ships modified the human way. Together, they pushed deeper into swarm territory. They thought we were primitive because we still used simple technology, Mills told his crew. They didn't understand that keeping the simple stuff alongside the advanced gave us options they didn't have. Sometimes you need a quantum cannon. Sometimes you need an old-fashioned rock. Best to have both. The fleet moved forward, ready to teach the galaxy another lesson about the advantages of being primitive. The stars themselves seemed to shine brighter, as if they too were proud of humanity's rise from laughingstock to savior of the galaxy. Captain James Walker stood before the Galactic Council, exactly where he had learned of humanity's primitive status 1 year ago. But everything was different now. The Great Chamber, once filled with gleaming quantum technology, now had simple backup systems everywhere. Old-style radio equipment sat next to advanced computers. The Council had learned its lesson. The Swarm's last fleet had surrendered 3 days ago. Their perfect quantum ships had been no match for the combined fleet of humans and reformed Dominion forces. Now the galaxy was changing, and humanity was leading the way. "We were wrong about Earth," the High Counselor admitted, his silver eyes dimmed with humility. "We thought advancement meant abandoning the old ways. You showed us that true strength comes from embracing all levels of technology." Walker looked around the chamber. Representatives from 1,000 worlds watched him. Many wore simple electronic devices alongside their quantum tech, a fashion that had spread across the galaxy after Earth's victories. "We never wanted to be primitive," Walker said. "We just hadn't forgotten our roots while reaching for the stars. Every step of human progress, every old technology, taught us something valuable. We kept it all, because you never know what might be useful." The council chambers hummed with both quantum computers and simple electronics. The mix of technologies was everywhere now. Ships carried both advanced AI and basic backup systems. Soldiers trained with both energy weapons and physical guns. The galaxy had learned that depending on only the most advanced option was a weakness. Dr. Kate Anderson's team had spread across known space, teaching others how to combine technologies. Colonel Reed's hybrid weapons were now standard issue on most ships. Admiral Mills's tactics were being taught at every fleet academy. Earth had become the center of a new kind of progress. The Swarm believed that perfect technology meant perfect power, Walker continued. The Dominion thought advancing meant leaving everything behind. But humans, we're messier than that. We keep our old tools sharp while making new ones. That's not primitive. That's being smart. The Council voted unanimously to give Earth a permanent leadership position in galactic affairs. Not because humans had the most advanced technology, but because they understood something more important: how to use every tool available. In orbit above the Council world, Earth's ships floated alongside the Dominion's fleet. The human vessels were still ugly, a mix of old metal and new technology, traditional engines alongside quantum drives. But no one laughed anymore. Those ugly ships had saved the galaxy. "We're establishing a new academy," the High Counselor announced. "On Earth, all species will send their best to learn the human way of adaptation, to understand that progress isn't about abandoning the past. It's about building on it." Walker thought about his first meeting with the Dominion, how they had mocked Earth's solar panels and chemical rockets. Now those same primitive technologies, combined with advanced alien science, had changed everything. Humanity had taught the galaxy that there was no such thing as obsolete knowledge, only obsolete thinking. "The Swarm taught us all a lesson," Walker told the Council. "Perfect technology makes you predictable. The future belongs to those who can use everything, from the simplest tool to the most advanced computer." That's humanity's gift to the galaxy. The understanding that being primitive isn't an insult. It's remembering where you came from and using that knowledge to build something new. As Walker finished speaking, news came in from across the galaxy. The last Swarm resistances were surrendering. Their perfect quantum technology was no match for the combined approach humanity had taught the galaxy. Old and new, simple and advanced, all working together. In the space around the Council world, ships of all species were adopting Earth's hybrid designs. The galaxy would never again make the mistake of thinking newer always meant better. Humanity had shown them a different path, one that remembered its roots while reaching for the stars. The galaxy had laughed at primitive humans. Now they were learning from them. And somewhere out there, Walker knew, the next threat was waiting. But this time, the galaxy would be ready, with every tool, every technology, and every lesson humanity had taught them about the strength found in keeping your old wisdom while seeking new knowledge.